Close your eyes. Imagine the ocean at night. No land in sight, no lights on the horizon, just black water stretching in every direction as far as you can see. The Pacific Ocean, July 1945. Now imagine you are floating in that water. Your ship is gone, sunk in 12 minutes. There are nearly 900 men around you, screaming, praying, holding on to anything they can find. The water is warm, and somewhere beneath your feet, something is circling. This is not a nightmare. This happened. This is the story of the USS Indianapolis and the 5 days that followed that history almost forgot.
Before we go to the water, let me tell you about the ship. The USS Indianapolis was a heavy cruiser, one of the finest in the United States Navy. She was fast, elegant, powerful. Her crew, 1,196 men, most of them young, very young. Some were 18, some 19. Boys from Indiana, from Texas, from small towns where the biggest excitement was Friday night football. They had names like Harold, Eugene, Robert, Willie. They had mothers who packed letters in their bags before they shipped out. They had girls waiting for them back home. In July of 1945, the war was almost over. Everyone could feel it. Germany had already surrendered. Japan was weakening. The men aboard the Indianapolis believed they would be home by Christmas. They were wrong. On July 16, 1945, the Indianapolis received a top-secret mission. She was to carry a package, a very special package. No one on board, except the captain, knew what it was. It was loaded in wooden crates, delivered in the middle of the night. 15 men guarded it at all times. That package was the atomic bomb, the components of Little Boy, the weapon that would be dropped on Hiroshima just days later. The Indianapolis delivered her cargo to the island of Tinian on July 26th. Mission complete. And then she sailed on, alone, into the open Pacific.
July 30th, 1945. 12 minutes past midnight. Most of the crew was asleep. The ocean was calm. The sky was clear. Somewhere in the darkness below, a Japanese submarine named I-58 had been watching the Indianapolis for hours. Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto gave the order. 6 torpedoes fired in the dark. 2 of them found their mark. The first torpedo hit the bow. The second hit near the fuel tanks. The explosions were catastrophic. Fire raced through the forward compartments. Men were thrown from their bunks, thrown against walls, thrown into the sea. The ship began to list immediately, tilting hard to starboard. Captain Charles McVeigh had 12 minutes to save his crew. 12 minutes. In the chaos, the order to abandon ship was never clearly given. Some men jumped. Some were trapped below deck. Some never woke up. The Indianapolis rolled onto her side and slipped beneath the surface. Gone in 12 minutes. And 900 men were alone in the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of the night, with no radio signal sent, no distress call received. Because of a tragic combination of miscommunication and secrecy, no one knew they were missing. No one was coming.
Let me paint you a picture of what those first hours were like. You are in the water. It is dark. The ship is gone. Around you, the sounds of men, hundreds of men, some crying, some calling out names. Harold, Robert, is anyone there? You find a life jacket. You pull it on. You find a group of men and stay close. There is comfort in numbers. The water is 85 degrees, warm almost. In daylight, you can see for miles. Nothing, just ocean. The men organized themselves into groups. They linked arms. They prayed together. They rationed the little fresh water they had. Some had rations, most had nothing. The senior surviving officer, Lieutenant Commander Lewis Haynes, tried to keep order, keep morale. He was a doctor. He spent those 5 days swimming from group to group, doing what he could. He could not do much. Because by the second day, the sharks came. The species was oceanic whitetip, one of the most aggressive sharks in the world. They had been drawn by the explosion, by the blood in the water, and now there were hundreds of men, exhausted, wounded, bleeding, floating on the surface. The attacks began quietly at first. A man would simply disappear. No scream, just gone. Then the attacks became bolder. They came during the day. They came at night. The nights were the worst. In the darkness, you could not see them coming. You could only wait and pray that you were not next. The men tried everything. They splashed the water to scare them away. They stayed still to avoid detection. Nothing worked consistently. And so, they floated. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. The sun during the day was brutal. No shade, no shelter. Sunburn so severe that skin began to peel. Dehydration set in quickly. And here is where the ocean became truly cruel. Surrounded by water, and none of it drinkable. Some men, driven mad by thirst, drank the seawater. It only made things worse. Salt water accelerates dehydration. It causes hallucinations. Men began to see things. An island just over the horizon, a ship coming toward them. They would swim toward it and find nothing. Some men became convinced there was fresh water just below the surface. They dove down to find it. They did not come back up. Hallucinations tore the groups apart. Some men became violent, paranoid, convinced their friends were Japanese spies. Fights broke out. Men drifted away from the groups, alone, into the open ocean. And still, no one came.
Back on land, the Navy did not know the Indianapolis was missing. When a ship failed to arrive at port, the standard procedure was to file a report, but the Indianapolis fell through the cracks. Her arrival had not been properly logged as required. The officer whose job it was to notice she was missing assumed someone else had handled it. And so the days passed. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, Day 4. 900 men in the water, and the world went on without them. On August 2nd, 4 days after the sinking, a routine patrol aircraft flew over the area. Lieutenant Wilbur Gwynn was flying low, checking his antenna, when he looked down
and saw something in the water. At first, he thought it was a school of fish. Then he looked closer. They were men, hundreds of men. He dropped his altitude, radioed for help immediately. The rescue operation launched within hours, but by then, of the 900 men who had entered the water, only 316 were still alive. 584 men had died, some from shark attacks, some from exposure, some from thirst, some from the explosions, some simply let go. When the rescue ships arrived, the survivors were barely recognizable, sunburned beyond recognition, delirious, skeletal. Many could not speak. Some did not survive the rescue itself. Lewis Haynes, the doctor who had spent 5 days swimming between groups, keeping men alive, broke down completely when he was pulled from the water. He had done everything he could. It was not enough. And yet, 316 men came home.
The story of the Indianapolis did not end with the rescue. Captain McVeigh, the commanding officer, was court-martialed. He was found guilty of hazarding his ship by failing to zigzag. He was the only captain in U.S. Navy history to be court-martialed after losing a ship in combat. The survivors were outraged. The Japanese commander who sank the ship, Hashimoto, even testified that zigzagging would have made no difference. The torpedoes would have found the ship regardless. McVeigh was eventually given a lesser sentence, returned to duty, but the letters never stopped. For the rest of his life, Charles McVeigh received hate mail from families who had lost sons, lost brothers, lost fathers. They blamed him. On November 6, 1968, Charles McVeigh took his own life in his front yard. He was holding a toy sailor in his hand. The survivors never forgave the Navy for what they did to their captain. For decades, they fought to clear his name. In the year 2000, 55 years after the sinking, the United States Congress passed a resolution. Captain McVeigh's record was amended, his name partially cleared. It was too late for him, but perhaps not too late for history. The survivors of the Indianapolis lived long lives, most of them. They married, had children, had grandchildren, but they never forgot those 5 days. Every year they gathered together, the men who had floated in the Pacific Ocean, who had seen things no human being should ever see. And they held each other, and they remembered the ones who did not come home. Harold, Eugene, Robert, Willie. 584 names, 584 stories that ended in the water. But 316 stories continued. 316 men watched the sun rise on August 8, 1945. 316 men heard the news that the war was over. 316 men eventually stepped off a ship onto American soil and breathed. Just breathed.
The ocean is vast and deep and ancient. It does not remember the Indianapolis, but we do. And tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let the water carry you gently. Not the cold, dark water of the Pacific in July 1945, but calm water, safe water, the kind that rocks you slowly, back and forth, back and forth. You are safe. You are warm. You are here. Let your body sink into the stillness. Let your breath slow. In and out. In and out. The story is told now. Those men have been remembered tonight, and you can rest. Sleep well.